Hello everybody. I welcome you again to careerright.com. The topic that we are going to talk about today in our quantitative aptitude section is bar graphs, which is a very important part of data interpretation. And as all of you know, data interpretation is a very important part of all your placement tests and entrance exams because you will find that at least 3 to 4 questions are definitely asked from this topic. In today's video, we are going to see how to solve the questions from bar graph very easily and very effectively in as little time as possible. Okay, so let's begin the video and let's learn from the video today. Okay, so now before we begin to solve the questions from bar graph topic, I would like to give you some very small tips that are going to help you solve the questions from this topic very easily and very effectively. And the first thing to know here is that the questions on data interpretation or bar graph, you may say, rest heavily on the concepts of percentages, ratios, and average. For the purpose of this video, whatever is required, I'll keep discussing it along with the questions. So you won't face any problems. But if you think that you lack heavily on the concepts of percentages, ratios, and average, make sure that you watch our dedicated videos on these topics also. They are going to help you tremendously set up your concepts on these topics. Okay. The next important thing to know here is that in exams, your constraint is going to be time. If I give you ample of time, if I give you unlimited time, all of you will be able to solve the questions on data interpretation. But this constraint of time in exams is going to be your real challenge. So your approach in exams has to be such that you are able to save the time. Now this approach is in the form of calculations. This approach is in the form of how you approach the data or how you approach the question altogether. These things are extremely important and I'll discuss all of these with you along with the questions. Okay, now there is also a video on pie charts, which is something that is really important for the purpose of this chapter on data interpretation. So if any one of you wants, you can go to this video also and check out, because I have discussed a lot of details here also, which are going to help you solve the questions from bar graphs also very easily. Okay, with this little information, let's actually dive into the questions now. Okay, so now coming to the first variety of bar graphs that you will find from this chapter. Okay, so the question given to you is study the bar graph below and answer the given questions. Let us come to the bar graph. The title of the bar graph says e-commerce business in million USD, right? This is the unit of currency that is given to you in millions of USDs we are talking about, right? And now the data is given to you for, come to the x-axis, it is given to you for 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21. So basically the data is given to you for 7 years. Okay. And what is the data? The data is for the year 2015, it is 4.9 million USD, right? This label says 4.9 million USDs. For 2016, it is 6.3 million USDs. Similarly, it keeps going on, and for 2021 the data is 8.4 million USD. This was the quantity of business that the e-commerce business did, right? Now the question asked you is, come to the question. It says, what was the average business for the given period? What is the given period? The given period is 7 years, right? And all of you us know that what is average? Average is equal to sum of all the observations and divided by the number of observations. This is what we mean by average, right? So what is the number of observations? Number of observations for us is 7, because we are talking about 7 years here, right? Now the tricky thing here is to find the sum of all the observations. And why do I call it tricky? Because the data is given to you in the form of decimals. So if I want to find the sum of all the observations, what would I do? I would add 4.9, 6.3, 7.7 and I'll 7.1 and I'll keep going on till 8.4, and my sum would come out to be what? 50.4. But as all of you can see, it is difficult for us to add when we are adding with decimals in place, right? What can I do to make my calculations faster? Because that is the key to solve the questions from data interpretation easily and in an effective manner. What I can do is I'll just try to omit the decimal point altogether, and I'll take 49 plus 63 plus 71 plus 82 plus 75. Now pay attention here. The data given to us after 75 was for the year 2020 and it was 8, which meant 8.0, and I have removed the decimal point for everything else, which means I have multiplied by 10. So I cannot take 8 as it is, I have to take 80, right? Because the data here is 8.0. Pay attention to this, otherwise you would simply land up adding 8 and you would get a wrong answer, right? Now the next data is what? 84, and my sum would come out to be what? It would come out to be 504. So this is the sum of all the observations. Now the question becomes simple. Sum of all the observations divided by the number of years, the number of observations, my answer would come out to be 72. But now I know that there is a decimal point that I omitted while doing my calculations, and decimal point was for one position, so I would put just one decimal point here and my answer would be what? My answer would become 7.2. Does it make your calculations faster or not? It does, right? So this is the way, if you deal with your data in this manner, your calculations are going to become faster and you will be able to solve the questions in the given timeline, right? So the answer for this question, finding the answer, is not at all difficult. The average is what? The average is equal to 7.2 million USD. But the way you approach the data, the way you approach your calculations is important, right? Let's go on to the next one. Okay, now if you read the second question based on this paragraph, it is very, very easy. The question says, how many times in the given period was the business above average? See, the question is extremely easy questions on data interpretation. The problem with us is that our brain gets scared when we see such big questions, such lengthy questions, so much of data. And the trick to deal with this is you have to practice well in advance so that your brain is used to, it is accustomed to comprehending the data, right? And with practice, this is very, very easy. The question is not at all difficult. We just found out the average was what? Average was 7.2 million USD, right? And now come to the bar graph. How many times is the data above 7.2? If you look the data for 2018, 8.2, this is above 7.2. 2019, above 7.2, this is 7.5, because now 20, the data is 8 and the next one is 8.4. So these four datas are above average of 7.2. So how many times was the business above average in the given time period? It was 4 times, and this is your answer. See how simple, how easy it is, right? Slowly we will move on to more difficult questions also, but the trick is simply your brain has to be accustomed to comprehending the data, right? Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now let's see the third question based on this graph. It says, what was the percentage growth in business from 2019 to 2020? Now see, in the beginning itself I told you that percentages form a very important base for this chapter on data interpretation, and they are extremely important. Okay, now dealing with the question 2020, what is the data given to us? It is given to us that it is 8 million USD, right? 2019 is what? 2019 is 7.5 million USD. What is the growth? For growth, I have to just subtract, I get 0.5 million USD. And as all of you know, I'm not dealing with million USD at the moment. I'm just dealing with the figures, right? So what is the growth? The growth is 0.5. In terms of what? We have to find in terms of something, right? In terms of 2019 and as a percentage of 2019, right? So what is the data for 2019? It is 7.5. So basically the question is 0.5 is what percent of 7.5? Okay, since we are finding percentage, we multiply it by 100. What does it become? It simply becomes, this decimal goes away, right? 25 3s are 25, 4s are 5, 4s are 20. 20 by 3%, right? One is this possibility, but it is highly possible that the answer will not be given to you in this form. If I write it as mixed fractions, I can write it as 6, 2 by 3%. That also means 20 by 3%, right? This is one possibility. And it can also be written as, if I divide it further and I actually get it into the decimal forms, I would get 6.66%. This is simple calculation, nothing difficult at all here. but what they are trying to check actually is if you are able to understand the growth percentage here or not. For that you have to subtract 7.5 from 8. Very easy question, nothing difficult at all, just some common sense and simple mathematics. Okay, so now let's read the question number 4 here based on this graph. It says the business in 2018 was how many times the business in 2015? I'm sure most of you would think to yourself this is a very easy question. There's nothing difficult at all, right? What they're trying to do is they are just trying to make those candidates uncomfortable who have not practiced and whose brain is not ready to comprehend the data, right? Otherwise, there is nothing difficult in this kind of DIs. These are the simplest type of questions you will find. Okay, so what is given to you? It is asked to you in 2018. Let's write the data first. 2018, what is it? 2018 it is given to us 8.2. 2015, 4.9. So basically what is asked to you is 8.2 is how many times 4.9, and what would you do? You would simply divide 8.2 by 4.9, and when you do this your answer will come out to be 1.67 times, and this is just your answer. Since I'm explaining it to you, I did all this, right? 2018, 8.2, 2015, 4.9. Otherwise, what would you do once you have practiced? You would simply start from this step. And when you start from this step, will you take more than 20 seconds to solve this kind of a question? Tell me yourself. Not at all. So these types of questions can be pretty quick, pretty easy. Make sure that you do not skip them. But for that, you have to practice well in advance, right? Now, there are many times when you can just do without calculations. Just with the help of options, you can solve the question. And I have explained many of such things to you, very intelligent and very interesting things to you in the video on pie charts. It is difficult to cover everything everywhere. So make sure that you refer to the video on pie charts to learn how you can use options to your advantage and find which of them can be correct without doing any kind of calculations even many a times, right? So this particular question is pretty easy. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now coming to the second type of a bar graph that you will find in this chapter. And if you look at this bar graph, you can see that the difference from the first is that the data labels at the top of these bars in the graph are not given to you, which means you have to actually compute the value of each of these bars yourself. It is pretty easy, nothing difficult here. I'll explain you how to do that. But first of all, let us go to the question and see what to do here. The question says, following bar graph shows month-wise percentage hike in the fuel prices. And the question is, in how many months did the fuel prices not rise? Now, this is again a very easy question, not at all difficult. All that you have to do is you have to pay attention and you can solve it without any calculations, just with the help of the graph here. Okay, so let us look at these bars. From January to February, there was a hike. From February to March, there was something happened here. From March to April, April to May, May to June. Okay, so from this graph, what do you see? You see that there is some kind of a fall in the month of March, right? So can you mark your options now? A, 2, B, 1, C, 0, D, none of these. Okay, so can you mark your options? And how many of you marked your option as option B? Just hold on for a moment. How many of you marked your option as option B? And what if I told you that this is the wrong answer? Why? Let us try to read the question again. Following bar graph shows month-wise percentage hike in the fuel price. It means that the graph shows you the consistent hike, right? It doesn't show you the prices. It shows you the percentage hike. And now, if you look at these bars, the values, you would see January is 10, okay? February is between 11 and 12. I would take it to be approximately 11.5 for now. March is showing me 9, okay? So I can see that the percentage hike in the month of January was 10%. It rose by 10%. February it rose by 11.5%. March it rose a little less by 9%, but it still rose. It did not fall. It rose because the bar graph, the question tells me, the heading is fuel price hike in percentage, right? So there was, the rise was a little slower, but it still was there. So my correct option for this question is the option C. There is no month when the prices fell or the prices did not rise. The prices did rise every month, but by different percentages, and they rose a little slowly in the month of March. So what's important for this kind of a question? It is extremely important that you read the question carefully. Read carefully, because this is the mistake that we commit. We don't have to make any calculations here. They are just checking how carefully you have read the question. Let's move on to the next one now. Okay, now coming to the second part of this question. If the fuel prices at the end of January were rupees 80 per litre, what was the price of the fuel at the end of first quarter? Okay, again a very easy question, just that some calculation is involved here, but it is not difficult at all. The first thing that we need to know here is what do we mean by the quarter of a year, because this is something that really confuses a lot of students. Okay, so now all of us know that a year has how many months? It has got 12 months, right? And if I say I want quarter of something, it means I want 1 by 4 of something, right? So if I want 1/4 of these 12 months, what would be the value? Would the value not be 3? 3 months, that is, right? So it means a quarter is equal to 3 months. The quarter of a year is 3 months. It is not 4 months as many students feel it to be or believe it to be, right? Now the next thing, the second thing is finding the value of each of the bars in the given graph, right? Because we are seeing that there are no data labels given at the top of each of these bars, so we have to actually compute the values, and we are interested in only the first quarter, right? That is January, February and March, because a quarter means 3 months. So we are interested in the value of these 3 months for the purpose of this question. Now if I look at January, I see that the graph here, the x-axis on a y-axis, the bar touches at the point 10, right? This major line. So it is 10% hike, right? But the actual value of fuel at the end of January is already given, so I'm not worried about this value of 10%. The fuel value is given to me. It is 80 rupees per liter, right, at the end of January. Let us see what happened in the month of February. In the month of February, I see that the bar, it rises beyond 11, this major line, that is 11, and it is below 12. The major lines are 11 and 12. So it is beyond 11 but below 12. Okay, and I see that how many lines after 11 are there. Let us count. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 11 to 12 is how many units? 11 to 12 is 1 unit, and it has to be divided among how many lines? It has to be divided among 5 lines. So the value of each line is how much? It is 0.2 units. It is how much? It is 0.2 units. See, nothing difficult here. All that you have to know is you have to just know how to calculate this, how to find this out, right? So what does the value of the bar for February becomes? It becomes 11 and it goes up to 3 lines and each line is 0.2 units. So it becomes 11.6 and what? 11.6%, right? For the month of March, I can see that the bar clearly touches this 9, the grid line for 9, and the value is 9% hike, right? Now let us come to solve the question. Okay, now it is given to me in the month of January, the fuel prices are what? They are 80 rupees per liter, right? In the month of February, there is a hike of 11.6%. It means earlier if it was 100%, now it is what? It is 111.6. Since I'm writing it in percentage, so I have to divide it by 100. This much of the value in January, right? So this is the value in what? This is the value in February. This is the value in February. Now the fuel prices again rise in March, and they rise by what? 9%. 9% of the value in February, right? So what does it become? It becomes 109% of the value in February, and since it is percentage, 109 upon 100, right? So this is the value of the fuel at the end of the first quarter and at the end of the month of March, right? Or the first quarter, right? So there is nothing, since there are no options that I've taken in the question, I would just simply go with the calculations. And if I make these calculations, my answer would come out to be what? 97.31 rupees per liter. Okay, this is how my answer is going to come out to be. Okay, this is the value of the fuel price at the end of the first quarter. But when options are given to you, I have explained this to you. Again, I'm telling you, I've explained these to you, how to use your options very clearly in the video on pie charts. So I would really like that, I would really want that most of you should go to the video on pie charts and learn how to use your options. Otherwise, when options are not supportive, you have to do the complete calculations, and the value here would come out to be, after the calculations, would be 97.31 rupees per liter. Okay, let's move on to the next one now. Okay, now coming to the second part of this question. If the fuel prices at the end of January were rupees 80 per liter, what was the price of the fuel at the end of first quarter? Okay, again a very easy question, just that some calculation is involved here, but it is not difficult at all. The first thing that we need to know here is, what do we mean by the quarter of a year? Because this is something that really confuses a lot of students. Okay, so now all of us know that a year has how many months? It has got 12 months, right? And if I say I want quarter of something, it means I want 1/4 of something, right? So if I want 1/4 of these 12 months, what would be the value? Would the value not be 3? 3 months, that is, right? So it means a quarter is equal to 3 months. The quarter of a year is 3 months. It is not 4 months as many students feel it to be or believe it to be, right? Now the next thing, the second thing is finding the value of each of the bars in the given graph, right? Because we are seeing that there are no data labels given at the top of each of these bars. So we have to actually compute the values, and we are interested in only the first quarter, right? That is January, February and March, because a quarter means 3 months. So we are interested in the value of these 3 months for the purpose of this question. Now if I look at January, I see that the graph here, the x-axis, on a y-axis, the bar touches at the point 10, right? This major line. So it is 10% hike, right? But the actual value of fuel at the end of January is already given, so I'm not worried about this value of 10%. The fuel value is given to me, it is 80 rupees per liter, right, at the end of January. Let us see what happened in the month of February. In the month of February, I see that the bar, it rises beyond 11, this major line, that is 11, and it is below 12. The major lines are 11 and 12. So it is beyond 11 but below 12. Okay, and I see that how many lines after 11 are there. Let us count. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 11 to 12 is how many units? 11 to 12 is 1 unit, and it has to be divided among how many lines? It has to be divided among 5 lines. So the value of each line is how much? It is 0.2 units. It is how much? It is 0.2 units. See, nothing difficult here. All that you have to know is, you have to just know how to calculate this, how to find this out, right? So what does the value of the bar for February becomes? It becomes 11, and it goes up to 3 lines, and each line is 0.2 units, so it becomes 11.6. and what? 11.6%, right? For the month of March, I can see that the bar clearly touches this 9, the grid line for 9, and the value is 9% hike, right? Now let us come to solve the question. Okay, now it is given to me in the month of January, the fuel prices are what? They are 80 rupees per liter, right? In the month of February, there is a hike of 11.6%. It means earlier if it was 100%, now it is what? It is 111.6. Since I'm writing it in percentage, so I have to divide it by 100. This much of the value in January, right? So this is the value in what? This is the value in February. This is the value in February. Now the fuel prices again rise in March, and they rise by what? 9%. 9% of the value in February, right? So what does it become? It becomes 109% of the value in February, and since it is percentage, 109 upon 100, right? So this is the value of the fuel at the end of the first quarter and at the end of the month of March, right? Or the first quarter, right? So there is nothing, since there are no options that I have taken in the question, I would just simply go with the calculations. And if I make these calculations, my answer would come out to be what? 97.31 rupees per liter. Okay, this is how my answer is going to come out to be. Okay, this is the value of the fuel price at the end of the first quarter. But when options are given to you, I have explained this to you. Again, I'm telling you, I've explained these to you, how to use your options very clearly in the video on pie charts. So I would really like that, I would really want that most of you should go to the video on pie charts and learn how to use your options. Otherwise, when options are not supportive, you have to do the complete calculations, and the value here would come out to be, after the calculations, would be 97.31 rupees per liter. Okay, let's move on to the next one now. Okay, now coming to this third DI. Distribution of silk weavers is given for 6 states in the pie chart. The bar graph shows the number of automized units in each of the given states out of a total of 12,000 units put together. What is the total number of unautomized units in all the states put together? So first of all, let us try to understand what is given in this bar graph and the pie chart along with it. Okay. So the question says that in this pie chart, out of the total 12,000 units, how many units of these silk weavers are there? There are 12,000 units, silk weaving units, okay, put together in all the states. This is given to you in the question, okay, and their distribution is given in this pie chart, right? 29% in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu has 18%, Telangana, it has got 26%, and so on, okay. And the accompanying bar graph, it has got the number of units that are automized, that are automatic, okay, that are mechanized. In Odisha, there are what? 1,000 units, Jharkhand 800 units, Karnataka 1800, Tamil Nadu is 1200, Telangana is 2400, and Assam is 200. Okay, now the question asks you what is the total number of unautomized units in the state put together. Now see, if you look at this question, it definitely looks lengthy, and most of you will be scared to look at the length of the question itself. But trust me, this is again a very, very easy question. There's nothing difficult about this question at all. Okay. These type of questions may go lengthy in calculations. Some of them might be tough also, but this particular question is absolutely easy because trust me, you are not even making the use of this pie chart here. But if you get scared of so much of data, you'll just skip the question or you may just solve it wrong. Okay. So make sure that you approach it with a calm mind. You see what is given and what is to be found out. It is given that the total number of units are how many? 12,000. These are total number of units. How many are automized? Let us find out. Let us go to this bar graph and add these figures. What are these? This is a total of 1800, 36, 36 plus 12, 48, 45,000, 7,400. You can just write it here itself. So there are 7,400 units that are automized. And how many are unautomized? It means you just have to reduce this 7,400 from 12,000. Nothing else. The question is extremely easy. That is why I said this is 4,600 unautomized units. Tell me what's difficult here. Nothing at all difficult. All that you have to do is you have to read the question carefully with a calm mind. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now coming to the second question based on this TI. Which state has got the maximum number of unatomized units? And the total number of units that were given to you were what? 12,000. Okay. Now, in this question, you have to, first of all, you have to see that in this pie chart, the state-wise distribution of these silk units is given to you. The state-wise distribution of these 12,000 total units is given to you, which means that out of these 12,000 units, 6% are in Assam, 12% in Odisha, then 9% in Jharkhand, 29% in Karnataka. This is what this pie chart tells you, right? And the bar graph next to it, it shows you how many atomized units are there, right? So now finding out the number of unatomized units, number of unatomized units. How will you do it? You will have to, for each state, you will have to find out the total number of units there minus the total number of atomized units, right? This is going to get you the answer for each of the states. Now, as you can see that you have to do this thing for each of the states. The calculation here is definitely more than the previous questions. The calculation is a little time consuming, but it is not difficult at all. And if you go by a little common sense, you can make the calculations faster also. Okay, I'll show you how to do that. But for the purpose of clarity, what I'm doing is I'm first getting you a table here, which is not required that you make it in the exam. You can just make your calculations directly in this pie chart. Okay, but for the purpose of clarity, let me get that table for you first. Okay, so this is the table that I was talking about. In this table, you will see that I have written all the states here. Then I have written the percentage wise distribution here, total number of units I have found here, and atomized units from the bar graph are here. And after the reduction of total units, atomized units from total units, what is the number of unatomized units in each state, that I have written here. But how to actually do this calculation in a fast way so that you can find the answer for your question in the exam in that given limited time frame. How to do that? Let me show you that now. Okay. So what I've done is I've taken the list of the states in the first column first, right? You are not required to make this table in the exam. You can just do your calculations straight away in the pie chart itself. Okay. I'll show you how to do that. I've taken the list of the states here, and I'm going in the same sequence that my bar graph is in. Okay, so bar graph says Odisha, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Assam. So I'll start from what? I'll start from Odisha. Okay, now Odisha, you'll see that there are, how many units are there out of the total? There are 12,000 units. Sorry, 12% units of the given 12,000 units, right? So basically you are required to find out 12% of 12,000 for Odisha, right? Now, how to do it in a faster way? So 12%, can you write it as 10% plus 2%? Yes, I can do that. So 10% of 12,000 is what? It is equal to 1200 plus 2% is what? 2% is 240. Is it not equal to 1440? Right? So see, I've gotten this in the table. Against Odisha, I've written the total number of units in the table as 1440. I'm just trying to show you the calculation. How can you do it in a fast way, right? For Jharkhand, it is 9%. Again, coming back to the pie chart. So 9% of 12,000, it is what? So we know that 10% is equal to what? 10% is equal to 1200, right? So 1200 minus 1%, 1% is again 120. So 1200 minus 120, right? What is this equal to? This is equal to 1080, right? Similarly, I can go on for all the states. Karnataka 29%. 29% means what? It is 30% minus 1%. 30% is what? 10% is 1200. So 30% is 3600. 3600 minus 120. Right? 1% is 120. So this will give me what? This will give me 3480. Right? 3500, if I reduce just 3600 minus 100 is 3500 minus 20. So my answer is what? It is equal to 3480, right? The space for me is limited, but for you in the exam, the space won't be limited. You can do it very easily in the exam. Okay. Similarly, I'll go for Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is what? 18%, which is 20% minus 2%. I can do it in the similar way, right? Telangana, I see that it is 26%. So what is a better way to go about it? It is 25% plus 1%, right? So now you can see there are total 12,000 units. 50% of that is what? 6,000, and even half of that is what? Is 25%, which gives me what? 3,000. 3,000 plus 1% is 120. So my answer would be what? 3120. You see how easy it is to find the number of units in each of the states. That is what I'm trying to show you. Similarly for Assam, come to the pie chart. So it is 6%. 6%, it can be written as 5% plus 1%, and I can find it easily. So this is how you will find the number of units in each of the states and write them in the pie chart itself, right? And then what is the next step? You have to reduce the number of atomized units for each of the states, right? So now again coming back to Odisha. In Odisha, how many total units I could find out? They were 1440. Okay. And what is the total number of atomized units? It is equal to 1000, right? What is left? 440 is left. So total number of unatomized units in Odisha is what? This is equal to 440. And similarly, you can do this for all the states, right? Now, what is the question? We have already found out how many number of unatomized units for each of the states are there. So now what is the question asked? It is asked that which state has got the maximum number of unatomized units. So what is the maximum number of unatomized units? Let us look into this column of the table. It is 1680 is the biggest number here. So Karnataka is the state that has got maximum number of unatomized units. This is the state which has got maximum number of units. This is the state which has got 1800 atomized units, and this is the state which has got the maximum number of unatomized units also, right? Not difficult at all. Just the calculations are a little time consuming, but there will be such questions where you will have to do these calculations. But it is up to you how to keep those calculations quick and faster and easier for yourself. Okay. So apply these common sense and easier tricks to find the percentages, and your life will become much easier while solving these questions. Okay. I hope you have understood this. If you find it difficult anywhere, you can pause the video and take a good look at it. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. Now coming to the third part of this question, third part of this DI. What is the difference in the total number of units? The difference in total number of units. Okay. Let's mark these words. In the states with maximum and minimum number of atomized units. Okay. So which means we have to refer to our bar graph here first of all. Okay. And trust me, this question is so simple that had it been at number 2 for this DI, you would not have had to make those lengthy calculations even. You can solve it very directly, even without that table, even without that lengthy calculation. Let's see how. Okay. So first of all, let us refer to this bar graph because we have to see the maximum and minimum number of atomized units are there in which states. Okay. So we see that the maximum number of units are in Telangana 2400 and the minimum number are in Assam, that is 200. Okay. And now it is asked to you for these two states, Telangana and Assam, what is the difference in total number of units, right? Which means Telangana minus Assam total number of units. That is what we are trying to find out. Okay. Now let us refer to this pie chart here. We see that out of the total 12,000 units, 26% are in Telangana, right? So 26% are in Telangana, and how many are in Assam? 6% are in Assam. So basically what we are trying to find the difference between these 26% and 6% units, right? So let us do this. And of what? Of 12,000, right? Because if I go the lengthy way, what I would do? I would do 26% of 12,000 minus 6% of 12,000. But do I have that much of time in the exam? No, I don't have. So what I'll do is I'll simply write 26 minus 6. I'll take 26 minus 6, that is 20. I will not even write this step in the exam. Okay, of 12,000, right? So what will this give me? This will give me, I'll straight away come to this 20% of 12,000, right? So I know that 10% is what? 10% is 1200, 20% is 2400. Do I have to make any lengthy calculations even? So this is my answer. What is the difference in the total number of units for these states, two states? It is 2400 units. See how easy it was. Nothing difficult at all, nothing lengthy at all. You can straight away come to this step, the last one, and solve this question. And trust me, this kind of a question, if you take it with the right approach, it will not take you more than 30 seconds to solve, right? But you have to practice for that so that you can decipher the information quickly. You can understand the information quickly given in the question and what the question is actually trying to ask you. Okay? Okay, so now here comes the fourth question. It says milk production details for 5 years are given for 3 brands. Study the data and answer the questions. Now, when you look at this bar graph, you see that there is a lot of data given here in this kind of a bar graph. There are 3 series for each of the 3 brands. Brand A is this blue series, brand B is this orange series, then brand C is this gray series, and this data is given to you for 3 brands for 5 years, 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. And every time when I try to solve the questions based on this data, I have to refer to this bar graph and then solve the questions. There is a high possibility that while looking at this bar graph and trying to pick up the data, I might just pick up the wrong data, or there is a high possibility that I might just get lost, and every time I'll keep wondering, where am I? So rather than trying to find out where am I would prefer to tabulate this data and make my life easier. Let me show you how to do that. So see, I can tabulate the data like this. What I have done is I have gotten the years here in the first column, 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have gotten here. And brand A, the second column is brand A, the third column is brand B, and the next column is brand C. If you look at the data for 2011, the first row in the table, you would see and try to compare it with the data in the bar graph. Okay, let us come to the bar graph. 2011, the blue bar we see is 35, the orange bar is 20, and the gray bar is what? It is 25, right? And this is the data for 2011. Now I'll try to tabulate this data in the table that I have drawn here. Okay, so 2011, see the first row now. 2011, brand A 35, brand B 20, brand C 25. I have gotten the data here for 2011. Similarly, I have done it for 2012, 13, 14 and 15 also. Okay, now every time while trying to solve the questions, rather than referring to the bar graph, I would refer to this table, because this is going to make my life easier and I'll not just keep finding myself out. Where am I? I won't be wondering, right? So now you see, the question asks you, let's go to the question. What was the average production of milk for the 5 years? Okay, so the question asks you, if in 2011 brand A produced a total of 167 liters of milk, right? What I have done here, I have just added up all the figures here. Okay, and I have gotten the total of production by brand A in all these 5 years. Similarly for brand B and for brand C also. So this was the total milk production in 5 years by all the 3 brands together. Okay, so now we know that average is what? Average in 5 years of the total milk production. So it is 167, total of all the observations, 167 plus 123 plus 150. And how many years? For 5 years, right? So divided by 5. What is this? This is equal to 167, 7, 3, 20, 1, 4. This will come out to be 440. 440 divided by 5, right? What is this? This is equal to 88. But 88 what? If you look at the bar graph again and look at the heading of the bar graph, this heading at the top in the orange color, milk production data in million tons, right? So my answer 88 will come out to be in, now coming back to the answer, 88 million tons of milk is the average. Okay, so this kind of a table is going to make my life very easy, and this is the table that I'll continue with in the following questions for this DI. Okay. Okay, coming to the second question of this fourth GI. Find the ratio of number of times when the milk production by brand C was less to the number of times when the production by brand C was higher than the brand A in these 5 years. Again, see, the question definitely looks lengthy to read, but it is extremely easy to solve. Nothing difficult here at all. Okay, after we have solved the question, you will even say to yourself that how easy this question was, because the question, all that it is asking you is how many times in these 5 years did brand C produce more milk than brand A, and how many times it produced lesser milk than brand A. Okay, and we have to find the ratio. Okay, so let us compare brand A and brand C for these 5 years. Okay, so brand C we have to see. The ratio is to be found for brand C. So we see that brand C in 2011 produced 25 liters while A was 35 liters, which means brand C was lesser, right? Similarly for 2012, 30, 40. So 30 liters is lesser than 40. So this is again less. 2013, again less. 2014, brand C produced 35 liters and brand A produced how many? Just 32 liters. So this is higher. Next is 2015. This is 25 and this is 35. So 35 is higher than 25. So this is higher. Now count these numbers of L and H, that is less and high for the brand C. Okay, and see in what form the ratio is asked. The ratio asks you when the ratio of less to higher, which means L upon H, less to high you have to find. This is very important because many a times they might ask you high to low, right? So you have to know in what order the ratio is asked, right? How many times do we see L here? We see L to be 3 times here and we see H to be 5 times here. So the ratio is what? It is just 3:5. Had the ratio been asked, this is L is to H, right? Had the ratio been asked H is to L, height is to low, then the ratio would have been what? It would have been 5:3. Very simple, nothing difficult here. See how easy it was. Okay, so now let's read the third question based on this DI. Find the number of times for which the production by brand A was higher than the average production for that year. Okay, do you see? First of all, what do we have to find out? We have to find out the average production for each year, right? And then we have to see how many times brand A exceeds that average production, for how many years that happens. Okay, so first of all, what is the total production for the year 2011, 2012, 2013, 14 and 15? This is what we need to find out, right? For that, what do we have to do? We have to add the production for brand A, brand B and brand C. That gives us the total for 2011, and when we do it for 2011, the data comes out to, the total comes out to be 80. Similarly for 2012, it comes out to be, the total comes out to be what? It comes out to be 100. For 2013, the total is what? It is 85. 14, we have found out the total is 95. Now 15, we again have found out the total is 80, right? Now how do we find out the average for each of these years? How many, now come to 2011. How many brands are there? There are 3 brands. So what we will do? We will divide this 80 by 3 and my answer will come out to be 26.6. This is the average production by each brand in the year 2011. Similarly, for 2012, what do we do? To find the average, there are 3 brands, so 100 divided by 3, right? So what do we get? 33.3. Similarly, we get the averages for each of these years. Now, what do we have to see? We have to see how many times brand A's production is more than the average for that year, right? So for 2011, we see that The production by brand A is what? 35, and the average is 26.6. Is this higher or lower? This is definitely higher. So let us mark it to be H. What happens in second case? 40 is greater than 33.3. Again H. 2013, 35 is greater than 28.3. Again H. 2014, 32, again greater than 31.6, but that is the average. So H. 25 liters, 25 in 2015, and the average is what? Average is 26.6. So this time it is lesser, so L. Now the question asks you, find the number of times for which the production by brand A was higher than the average production for that year. So how many H's do we have here? How many times the production by brand A has been more than the average for that year? 1, 2, 3 and 4. So answer is 4 times, right? The question is not difficult. It just requires you to do some calculation, for which your mathematics has to be quite good. Your calculations have to be quite quick, right? Nothing difficult otherwise. Question number 5. Study the bar graph given below and answer the given questions. How many total number of candidates appeared for railways in the year 2015 and 17? Now see, this is the next type of bar graph that you may find in many of the questions. This is a stack bar graph, wherein the data is stacked over each other for each of the series, right? So what's happening here is, if you look at this question, you will see that the title of the graph is number of students appearing for each exam, and the values are in lakhs. Okay, and which are these exams? The blue one is UPSC, the orange one is railway, and the gray one is banking, as per the information given in the graph here. Okay, so now the biggest challenge here is to decipher this data for each of the stacks, and if you can decipher this data correctly, most of your questions will come out to be correct. Okay, so now let us try to do it for this question. The question is, how many total number of candidates appeared for railways? Railways is orange color, and we are talking about 2015 and 2017, right? So we are talking about this data and this data, this orange stack and this orange stack in 2017 series, right? So now if you look at the orange part of the 2015 series, you will see that the blue part ended at 20, right? This is where it ended. From here till 30, okay, till 30 there are how many lines? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 minor lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. So after 20, this means that this is 22, this is 24, 26, 28 and 30. The value of each of these minor lines is what? 2 units, right? So if I start from 20 and go up to, this becomes what? 20 to 30 is 10 units, right? 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. It means 18 units of data is here, okay, in the first orange stack, and the value is in lakhs, so 18 lakhs, right? Now if you go to the last one, that is the data for 2017, let us try to decipher the data in the orange stack. This time we'll go a little faster. So if you see from here to here, between the two major grids, that is 20 to 30, these are 10 units. 2 below, right? And how many up? 4 up. So it becomes a total of 10 plus 2 plus 4, 16 units. So this becomes 16 lakhs. Now the question becomes extremely easy. What is asked to you? How many total number of candidates appeared for railways? So 16 lakhs in 2017, right? And 18 lakhs in 2015. What is this? This is a total of 34 lakhs. So 34 lakh candidates appeared for railways if you take the years 2015 and 17. See, as I said, solving the question is not a difficult thing here, if you are able to decipher the data correctly, okay, for which you need to be aware of how these major lines and minor lines, this the units between 20 and 30, for example, are divided, how many lines are there in between, and what does each minor line, the number of units associated with each of the minor lines. Okay, now coming to the second part of this DI. If 0.8% of total candidates appearing for UPSC in 3 years actually succeed, how many students succeeded in UPSC in 3 years? Okay. Now again, as I have been saying, these questions are very easy to solve. There is nothing difficult about them. All that you have to know is you have to be able to decipher the data from the bar graphs. Okay. So now the UPSC exam here is demonstrated by these blue stacks, and the data is given to us for 2015, 16 and 17. So first of all, we have to find out how many candidates appeared for UPSC altogether in these 3 years. Okay, let us first of all try to find that out. Coming to the 2015 stack. Okay, it starts from 0, cuts at right 20. So 20 lakh candidates actually appeared for the UPSC exam in 2015. Let us come to 16. So it goes till here 20, and the data goes a little above 20, and that is the first minor line. Okay, so this means, and the each minor line is what, 2 units. 20 plus 2 units is what, 22 lakhs, right? And the third one is 2017, one minor line below 20 lakhs, right? This is 20 lakhs, the major line, and this is just below this is this, and this is what, this is 18 lakhs, right? So how many candidates appeared for the UPSC exam in all? This is 20 plus 22 plus 18. This is equal to what? This is equal to 60. But we don't have to forget that we are talking about the data in lakhs, right? So 60 lakh candidates appeared for the UPSC exam in all these 3 years together. Now, what was the success rate? The success rate was 0.8%. 0.8% of the candidates appearing. So 0.8% of 60 lakhs, right? So 0.8% of 60 lakhs, this is equal to 0.8 upon 100 into 60, right? And lakhs. This is equal to what? This is equal to 6 8s are 48. One decimal here, so 0.48 by 10 lakhs. This is equal to 0.48 lakhs. But there is a high possibility that the answer won't be given to you like this. How will it be given to you? It might be given to you that they might expect that 4.48 into lakhs is what? 100,000, right? Two decimals, remove them. So the data would come out to be 48,000 candidates actually cleared the UPSC exam or got success in the UPSC exam in all these 3 years all together. Okay. So this is how you have to solve these type of questions. Basically, you have to be able to find out the data from the stacks correctly. And that is what the attention of these questions should be on. And now the third DI of this question says, what was the percentage rise or fall in the number of candidates appearing in banking exam from 2015 to 17? So it is clear that we are talking about 2015 and 2017 data, and we are talking about the banking exam. So it means it is this gray series that we are going to talk about, this gray stack here. Okay. So let us first of all find how many candidates appeared for the banking exam in 2015, right? If you see the data here, we see that 40 to 50, 50 to 60, these are 20 units. But below 40 also there are some units, and the data starts from here. Okay, so these are extra 2 units, which means this is what? This is 22 lakhs. Now coming to the 2017 stack. Okay, we see that the data starts from, okay, so here, okay, and it ends here, right? This is what? This is 10 units we know, and above these 10 units, above this 50 grid line, how many? 2, 4. So 4 units here, and how many below? The number of units, okay, I'm sorry, this is 6 units above. This is 6 units above because there are 3 grid lines here. How many units below this 40 grid line? There are 1, 2 and 3 units below, which means 6 units here. Okay, 3 lines below, so it means 6 units. How many total? There is a total of what? 22 lakh candidates here also. So 22 lakhs appeared in 2015 and 22 lakhs appeared in 2017. Is there any change? Is there any percentage rise or fall? No, because if I reduce 22 from 22, I'm going to get a 0 here, right? So the answer here is no rise or fall, right? The same number of candidates appeared. The answer may be, the option you may get could be 0 or no rise or fall or no change. These can be the possibilities which you have to see here. Okay. So guys, with this we come to the end of this video on bar graphs. And I sincerely hope that whatever we have learned today in this video is going to help you in understanding the questions from this chapter easily and solving them quickly. If you found this video useful, do give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends also. And if you want to stay updated with more such videos on quantitative aptitude that we release, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss upon them. I'll see you very soon with a new video. Till then, bye bye and take care.